I didn't realize how quiet a house could feel until it stopped feeling like home. It wasn't sudden. Nothing ever is. It just faded. Conversations got shorter. Dinner tables felt bigger. My mom started smiling less at us and more at her phone. No arguments. No shouting. Just distance that crept in like a slow leak. I was 27, old enough to understand things without needing them explained. But somehow, that made it harder. That's around the time I met her. Not my mom's story, mine. Her name was Ariba. She was 25. I met her at a late-night bookstore cafe, one of those quiet places where people go to avoid thinking too loudly. I was there because I didn't want to go home yet. She was there because, as I later found out, she hated sleeping early. She was sitting cross-legged on a chair, reading something with her brows slightly furrowed. Not stressed, just focused, like the world outside that page didn't matter. I remember ordering coffee I didn't even want, just to have a reason to stay. She looked up once. Just a glance. Not long enough to mean anything, but long enough for me to notice. I looked away first. A few minutes later, the seat across from me was suddenly occupied. "Do you mind if I sit here?" she asked. There were other empty tables. I shrugged. "Yes, sure." She smiled like she knew something I didn't. We didn't talk at first. Just sat there, pretending to read. Occasionally flipping pages we weren't actually paying attention to. Then she broke the silence. "You don't look like someone who came here for books." I let out a small breath. "And you do?" She tilted her head. "No, I came here to avoid thinking. Books just help me pretend I'm doing something useful." I smiled. That was honest. I wasn't used to people being that direct. We talked for maybe 20 minutes. Nothing deep. Just random things. Favorite late-night habits, bad sleep cycles, how quiet the city gets after midnight. I didn't mention my family. She didn't ask. When she stood up to leave, she paused. "Same time tomorrow," she said casually, like it wasn't a question that could change anything. I hesitated. Just for a second. "Yeah, I guess." She nodded once and walked out. I sat there a little longer, staring at the empty chair across from me. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like rushing home. And I didn't know if that was a good thing or not. We didn't call it anything. We just kept showing up. Same cafe, same table, same late hours where the world felt slower and somehow more honest. The first real moment happened a week later. It started raining outside, heavy enough that the windows blurred into streaks of light. She stood by the glass, watching it like it meant something. "You ever feel like rain makes everything quieter?" she said. I walked over, standing beside her. "Or louder. Depends on what you're trying not to hear." She glanced at me like she caught something in that sentence. We didn't move for a while. Just stood there, watching nothing in particular. That was the first time I noticed how comfortable silence felt with her. The second moment was simpler. We were walking back from the cafe when the power went out in the entire block. No streetlights, just darkness and the faint glow of distant buildings. She laughed softly. "Well, this is inconvenient." I pulled out my phone flashlight. "Relax," I said. "I got us." She stepped closer than usual. Not intentionally, just naturally. "Good," she said, "because I definitely get lost. You've lived here longer than me." "Yeah, but I overthink directions." I chuckled. "That's not how directions work." She nudged my arm. "It is for me." We walked slower than necessary. Neither of us in a hurry to reach anywhere. The third moment was quieter. We were sitting in the cafe again, but this time she wasn't reading. She was just staring at her hands. "What's up?" I asked. She hesitated, then said, "I don't think I'm built for staying in one place." I frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I want more. Different cities, different experiences. I don't want to wake up 5 years from now in the same routine." I nodded slowly. "I get that." She looked at me, searching my face. "Do you?" I hesitated. Just a little. "Yeah, I think so." That wasn't entirely true, but I didn't want to ruin the moment. Over time, we fell into a rhythm. Late-night coffees, walks that lasted longer than planned, messages that didn't feel forced. At some point, it stopped being accidental. It became something. One night, she asked me directly, "Why were you really coming to the cafe that first night?" I looked down at my cup. My house didn't feel like home anymore. She didn't ask for details. Didn't push. She just nodded. I get that, she said softly. And somehow, that felt like enough. It started with small things. She talked more about leaving. Not dramatically, just casually, mentioning job opportunities in other cities. Travel plans. Things she wanted to try before settling. I listened. I always listened. But I didn't say much. One night, she brought it up again. If I got an offer somewhere else, I think I'd take it. I nodded. That makes sense. She watched me for a second. That's it. What do you want me to say? I don't know, something. I exhaled quietly. It's your life. She leaned back slightly, like that answer created space between us. Yeah, she said. It is. The conversation moved on, but something stayed behind. After that, silence felt different. Not uncomfortable, just heavier. We still met, still talked, still laughed. But there were pauses now. Moments where one of us would think something and not say it. I started overthinking. About her plans. About my lack of them. About how easily she talked about leaving. And how I couldn't imagine doing the same. It wasn't a fight. It was just a quiet realization growing in the background. She told me on a Tuesday night. I got the offer. We were sitting at our usual table. I didn't ask which one. I already knew. Where? I said anyway. Lahore. I nodded slowly. That's big. Yeah. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. They want me there in a month. A month. I looked down at my hands. That's fast. Yeah. We both went quiet. She reached for her cup, but didn't drink. Just held it. What are you thinking? She asked. I shrugged slightly. That it makes sense for you. She let out a small breath. You always say that. What else am I supposed to say? I don't know, maybe that it's hard. I looked at her. It is hard. That was the first time I said it out loud. She nodded slowly. Yeah, she whispered. We sat there for a while. Not talking, just existing in that moment. Neither of us wanted to say the obvious. So we didn't. Things didn't end right away. They just stretched. Messages became shorter. Reached home. Yeah. Busy today. Kind of. Calls turned into missed calls. Not intentionally. Just bad timing. Or maybe perfect timing for distance. We still met sometimes. But it felt like we were trying to recreate something instead of living it. One night, we went back to the cafe. Same table. Same drinks. But it felt different. Like we were visiting a memory. She laughed at something I said, but it faded quickly. Do you ever wish we met at a different time? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Yeah, I said finally. Sometimes. She nodded. Me too. We didn't say anything after that. That night, I typed a message after getting home. Stay. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. We met at a park bench. No dramatic setup. No final plan. Just the quiet understanding that we needed to talk. She was already there when I arrived. Hey, she said softly. Hey. He sat beside her. Not too close. For a while, we just watched people walk by. I'll leave in a week, she said. I nodded. Yeah, I know. She looked down at her hands. I kept thinking, maybe we'd figure something out. Me too. Silence. But I don't think we will, she added. I exhaled slowly. Yeah. It wasn't anger. It wasn't blame. Just truth. She glanced at me. You don't want to leave. No. And I don't want to stay. I know. Her eyes softened. I wish that wasn't true. Me too. We both smiled slightly. Sad but real. She shifted a little closer, just enough that our shoulders almost touched. I don't regret this, she said. Neither do I. Another pause. Longer this time. Then she said it. I think this is where we let go. I nodded. Yeah. We didn't hug right away. Didn't rush it. When we finally stood up, she looked at me one last time. Take care of yourself. You too. She turned first. I watched her walk away until she disappeared into the crowd. And just like that, it was over. Time doesn't fix everything, but it changes how things feel. A few months passed. The cafe was still there. I went back once or twice. Sat at the same table. It didn't feel the same, but it didn't hurt the same either. At home, things were different too. My mom eventually moved out. Not dramatically, just quietly, like everything else. I didn't stop her. I understood something now that I didn't before. Sometimes people don't choose between right and wrong. They choose between two versions of their life. And neither is easy. I started focusing on myself more. Work, routine, small habits. Not to distract myself, but to rebuild something stable. Something mine. I thought about her sometimes. Not constantly. Not painfully. Just occasionally. Like remembering a place you once felt safe in. It wasn't a tragic ending. It wasn't a perfect one either. It was just real. A romantic breakup story without villains. An emotional love story built on something genuine, but shaped by relationship timing. We weren't wrong for each other. We were just right person, wrong time. And sometimes, that's enough to make letting go the only honest choice. Final line. Some people don't leave because love ends. They leave because life moves in a direction love can't follow.